This is a critique of Esther Narissa's Dewey video, Teacher as Composer. As it's written in our Dewey book, on page 131, Dewey thinks experience is something we have in the very process of living, but many schools don't embrace the conditions and the situations of active contact with things and persons, like those we find in the home or in the playground, and fulfilling ordinary responsibilities of life. I think what Dewey was trying to say and how this video was trying to interpret it was that education is separate from the real world, but it still should be integrated as an experience into the student's life and into their growth, because that's essentially what it is. So it's by putting together the home life, the play life, the school life, and to help growing this individual to be a contributor to society in the future. Although this group made differences between different types of teaching and different types of experiences, they did so by changing the classes that they were in. Now, granted, the teachers had a very, very large part to do with the class, but I believe that there would be something more to it if the same teacher, if the German teacher changed the experience of the classroom rather than comparing the German class to the cooking class. Because German can be, a very useful thing to have in life, but you have to make it useful instead of saying random things. I believe that's what they were trying to explain, but instead of changing the classroom itself or changing the teacher, they just moved on to a different classroom. So it never really showed any progress within one class. One point that I thought was a great one to make was the difference between having a good experience in a classroom but having a learning experience in a classroom. For instance, that the genetics class that they had, or the math class with Punnett squares, they had a good time, they learned a lot, but they didn't know how it would affect them in society. Now, although that it could affect them in society, and it's very important, they didn't bring it up until after they were in the class. So it's just another way of having that experience, as opposed to the cooking class when they know that they can use it in real life, they had a good time, they learned, and it was very, very productive. I believe that having a good time and then having a good time in learning is much more beneficial to a classroom, and I believe that they did a great job. Also, with the fact that they use different teachers in different classes for the different types of experiences that they have, it's almost as if the content itself is what is creating the anesthetic experience versus aesthetic experience. So there might be I believe that there was a way that they could have brought it together, because you don't know which part is the teacher part and which part is the subject part. One thing I was a little foggy on in the video was the difference between an experience and an aesthetic experience. I honestly thought that they were both the same thing in the way that they portrayed it, except they seem to have more fun in the aesthetic experience. So they seem to have a lot of fun in the yoga class too. So something that I wish that they would have done is to provide more of a description of the difference between the two. Otherwise, it was very clear of the gradual foundation of each experience as they went on throughout the school day. As a source, I used John Dewey and the Art of Teaching.